All right, we're going to get started here. Can I have someone let me know how the audio sounds? All right, thank you for that. Now then, can you read what's on the monitor here? It's not a mirror image, is it? Or can you read this? Because I want you to be able to read this presentation. Okay, that's good because on my screen, on my view with YouTube, it shows it reverse. So, okay, we got quite a few people on here. So it's a little, I'm not used to doing these live streams. I tried to use a streaming software, but it's very difficult to use. So I'm using the YouTube software, but I kind of have my camera's here. So I kind of have to look at my monitor and try to look at the camera. So if it seems like I'm not looking at you, just don't be offended. It's just because that's the way this camera's set up. And we can try moving things around here and see how it goes. Actually, I'm going to move. How's that? That's a lot better, right? Hey guys, thanks for being in the chat. I appreciate that. Okay, good. You can see that monitor pretty good now, right? All right, so here's how I'm going to do this. With the way the live streams work is that more people come on the longer that I'm on, so it takes a little while. We've got 130 people watching now, but that'll go up. So I'll wait a few minutes before we get into the presentation. And here's how I'm going to do it. As we go through the slides with all the new bikes, I'm going to try to keep up with your questions as I go instead of waiting until the end for everything, because then it'll be like just way too much for me to go through in terms of the questions. So if you're watching this, most people are going to watch this as a recording later. So if you're watching it as a recording, you can scroll through to the parts you want to see, but it's probably going to be a pretty long video, just to warn you. And yeah, whoever said the Coke Zero, I'm way ahead of you. I've got here my orange koozie and my Coke Zero, so we're good to go in that regard. It's funny, I actually don't drink alcohol, so the only thing I really like to drink is like Coke Zero, or I like those sparkling waters too, like LaCroix. All right. Coke Zero, sure, yeah. Maybe someday Coca-Cola will reach out for a sponsorship. I'm really sure they care about small motorcycle bloggers. All right, so let me try to. Okay, so some housekeeping items. The presentation, this deck of slides is a download, is a PDF. So there's a link in the video description and also in the pinned comment here on this live chat. You can actually download this and just have it if you want, or if you want to use it on your device instead of trying to read it here. Cool. Some people have already downloaded the file, so that's good. That means that it's working. So that's good to know. All right, and then what else do I have here? Oh yeah, I wanted to start just by thanking. We have 106 Patreon members, and I know some of them are here tonight. So thank you for that. That's a huge help, and that's really grown with that circle. So I just want to give a special shout out to everybody who's a Patreon member. That monthly support really helps make the channel financially sustainable. So thank you for that. Yeah, I know. The bathroom is back there. I meant to go close that door, but that's all right. Let's see what. Oh, and I also wanted to thank just everybody else too, not just the Patreon members, but everybody who uses the affiliate links and leaves comments and likes the videos and all that. It's a community. What we're trying to build here is a community. It's not really about me. So I appreciate all of you very much. Diego says you should go to Patagonia. Oh my God, I'd love to go ride in Patagonia. That'd be like a dream to do that. Yeah, Maggie, Maggie might, I don't know, she might have a cameo coming through the bedroom. I'm actually in my master bedroom because my office is torn up right now because I'm remodeling it. So we moved to a different house. A larger displacement Africa Twin, yeah, that is possible. They are going to release a new Africa Twin, but we don't know many details about it. Someone says, "Can we send you cash?" You can, sure. Send me $1 million in unmarked hundreds. That would be perfect. U.S. currency. I could do something with that. But no, you can make a super chat donation through here. I think, yeah, it should be. Yeah, there's a little dollar button there. You can make a super chat donation, and then I'll prioritize the questions because we're gonna have a lot more people as this goes on. So. Rusty Butter, when are we going to see you on a 901 expedition? Yeah, if Husky and KTM North America would start giving me press bikes, that would be really great, but they just don't respond, so I'm not sure why that is. The 901 Expedition is really similar to my 890R. It's just different bodywork, slightly softer suspension, and a few extras like heated seat, heated grips. You get a lot of stuff with that bike. It's a good value. No, I don't have the Touareg. I missed that bike. Nope, no more log cabin home. We sold that house. A Africa Twin. Yep, we all want a small size Africa Twin, but I just don't think we're going to get it. You get the Transalp. You get the Transalp, and then they want to upgrade you to the Africa Twin. The Africa Twin is their flagship adventure bike, right? Better suspension, electronics. That's the problem we were talking about earlier, is that a company like Honda, they're not going to build a really super premium mid-size adventure bike because they're going to cannibalize the sales of their flagship bike, which is their moneymaker. So they're just not going to do it. Lower center of gravity. Yeah. We're going to talk about the 900GS. Yes, I do like the Suzuki 800 V-Strom a lot. Excellent bike. What would I like to see change with the Africa Twin? I mean, yeah, the lower, it feels top heavy. And so I'd like to see that. Also, easier electronics that were a little bit easier to use. If they could reduce the weight, that would be good, but I think that's going to be tough to do. I don't think we're going to see supercharging. That seems like that doesn't seem realistic. All the homologation and everything that would be involved to do supercharging. I just don't think we're going to see that from an Africa Twin. But I do think we're going to see like radar cruise control and some other features, to make it more competitive. Hey, Jeff. Jeff's here, ADV Agenda. Are you going to make your 890R Supermoto? No, definitely not. Okay, so let me go to my next screen here. Oh, we start into the bikes. So are you guys ready? Do you want to start and get into this here? Electrica Adventure Motorcycle. I don't know what he's referring to there, really. There's a lot to talk about there. The 900GS, yeah, we're gonna have to see about the 900GS. They did slim it down a lot. All right, let's get into the presentation. Some of you are saying the audio is not loud enough. What do you guys think? I can try to move the mic. The mic's in my usual spot, so yeah, it's turned all the way up. My mic's turned all the way up. Okay, the Kove. So let's talk about Kove. right? Kove's a Chinese motorcycle, right? Get that out of the way. Now, there's a lot of hype about this 450 rally. You may have seen Tyler Everride's videos. He has the best videos on this so far, and he's going to help distribute them, I guess, or he has an affiliate program. I know Tyler personally, and I trust his opinion. Great guy. So the thing with the Kove is it's a rally motorcycle, right? It's got the big fuel tank. It's a super tall seat height. It's kind of, it's like the only rally bike you can buy. There's one problem with it right now, which is that it's actually not road legal. So the bike comes with lights, turn signals, and all that stuff. But in a state like where I live, California, it's not road legal. So we can't actually get a license plate, which means I can't ride it almost anywhere. So that's the problem. Yeah, and no dealers. Yeah, we're getting some comments about that. Thank you for the donation, Jim. I appreciate that. And you guys can make donations on a super chat, and then I'll prioritize your questions because I'm not going to be able to get to all these questions. So, okay, back to the Kove. So it's $9,000, which is a great price. 50 horsepower. That's nice. 370 pounds or 168 kilo. That's pretty light if you consider it has 8 gallons of gas. Like that weight is with 8 gallons of gas on board. 8 gallons is 30 liters of fuel. here's something that people haven't talked about. The Kove has a 38-inch seat height. That's 965 millimeters. I mean, what other bike has a 38-inch seat height? Like, unless you're 6 foot tall, I don't see how you're going to really ride that. I mean, I don't know how much suspension sag there is, but thank you, Jared, for the donation. I appreciate that. So, but the advantage is that's tall seat height. You are getting 12 inches of suspension travel, which is insane. There's no other, not even an 890R rally that we're going to talk about in a minute. Not even that has 12 inches of suspension travel. That's dirt bike racing, dirt bike level of suspension. So that's crazy. It's a Yuan is a suspension company. I think it's a Chinese suspension. So that's interesting. But people say it's really good. Caleb says they have a low model. Yes, there is the low model. I do list there. You can get it down to 36-inch seat height, but that's still taller than even an 890 rally. So that's, yeah, it's up there. But usually on a bike like that, the suspension squashes quite a bit when you sit on it. So yeah, it's not even close to a DRZ. So the Kove, I think I'm going to have a Kove 450 rally, this bike, for review in the next, I don't want to overpromise, but 1 to 2 months. So the Kove people got in touch with me, Gary, the importer, and we're going to link up and he's going to get me a bike to review. So that's exciting, but it could be a couple months, 6 weeks. So. Let's see. All right. So I have a couple more. Oh yeah, here's my other comments. We already talked about that. It's not street legal yet, which in some of your states you can get a license plate and some you can't. It just depends on your local laws. But if I can't get a license plate, then it's not. So I told Gary, I said, if you have the street legal version, the 50 state legal version, I'll buy one. Like, it's just, but I can't buy it now because I won't be able to ride it. Adrian, thank you for your donation, Adrian. He asked a question. The new 900GS, what is the intended use, particularly with the shorter range? Is it a large enduro bike? So yeah, I think what BMW did is that they're desperate to get that bike more competitive with the weight. And so they gave a smaller fuel tank as a way to get it light, which I don't really agree with for an adventure motorcycle because it's got 3.8 gallons or 14 liters of gas. Like, that's the lowest of any adventure bike. So we don't know the fuel mileage. So if it could somehow get 60 miles a gallon, that would still be over 200 miles or 320 kilometer, but it's probably going to get more closer to 40 or 45 miles a gallon. So you might be looking at a range of around 150 miles, which is not really enough. So yeah, I don't like the fuel tank on that new 900GS, but we're going to talk about that bike. All right, we're up to 260 people. Thank you all for tuning in. Is there a new 701 for 2024? I don't know. They haven't. I think that you're going to see the 690, 701, and the gas, those three, the Husky, the KTM, and the gas keep carrying on for a couple years. I don't think they're going to redo that. And they're not going to make like a 701 or a 690 Rally or Adventure because they want you to buy the 890 Adventure. That's their whole point. So they're not going to do that. All right. Yeah, we've talked about this Chinese engine, which I don't know. It could be fine. A lot of those Chinese engines are super reliable. And it's the only rally bike you can buy. So any other questions about the Kove? Because I want to move on to the next one. I've also got, have you guys ever tried these? These are Trader Joe's dark chocolate espresso beans. These things are the best. They're so addictive. Oh, hey, Chip. Thanks for watching. Thanks for that ride in South Dakota too. That was fun. Here's some more pictures of it. So it looks pretty amazing. I like the fairing and the integrated headlight. It just looks proper. I mean, it looks like a proper bike. It also comes with Chinese tires, I think, too. They're not like a mainstream tire. They're like a Chinese tire. There's another photo of it. So yeah, I should have that bike in the next month or two to review. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Some people are saying the suspension's really rough. Yeah, I mean, if it's set up like to actually rally race, then it's going to be really firm because they set those bikes up so you can hit stuff at super high speed in the desert and not bottom out. So if they set it up that way, it's going to ride pretty hard. Yeah. How would the Kove compare to the Touareg? Well, it's 80 pounds lighter, and it's got 3 inches more suspension travel. So it's going to feel like it's going to feel more like a dirt bike. The Touareg, you know, the Touareg's definitely an adventure bike. You know, it's heavier but still one of my favorite bikes. Oh, we got someone from Australia. Thank you so much for tuning in. I don't know, what time is it in Australia right now? Wayne asked, do you get these bikes? Does it come in a crate? Or no, I actually spent almost all day today. I have to go to Los Angeles most of the time. So it basically takes an entire day for me to pick up a bike because it's like 3 hours there and 3 hours back with the traffic. So I spent all day today swapping out the RT for R1250R. So yeah, it takes a lot of time. Thank you, Marcus, for your donation. I feel like I missed a slide in here. Oh yeah, I missed this. I missed this slide just for transparency. Like I want you guys to know how this all works, right? And I'm not putting up numbers here, but these are because we're talking about money and time and stuff. Like there's 4 ways that that I make income from the channel, and this is all YouTubers, right? And a lot of people don't talk about this, but I'm just going to tell you. So these are the 4 ways. You get Google Ads, affiliate sales, which is like if you click my link and buy a jacket or something, I get a small commission from that. Member support, that's Patreon or stuff like that. And then sponsor videos. I stopped doing sponsor videos because honestly, I hate doing them. I hate doing those ads. You already have enough ads, and I just hate to do it. So, and then yeah, I've got all these expenses here that I list, but just that's kind of how this works financially. Would I be better off going back to my old career? Yeah, probably. But I like doing this stuff, and I get to hang out with you guys. So, all right. So enough with that. I just wanted to give you that transparency. All right. Are you guys ready to talk about the GS? Thank you again, Marcus, for the donation. That's very nice. Let's see. What other questions here? Random Life's getting a Transalp. That's cool. Let us know how you like the Transalp. The Transalp, I don't think I put it in this presentation. Maybe I did, but we still don't have it here in the US for some reason. Okay, is the GS made in China? So yeah, some people have been talking about the 850 GS and the 900 GS. They're not made in China, but the engine is Chinese. So when BMW brought out the 850 motor back in like 2018, it's Lonsin, which is a Chinese engine company. So yeah, BMW buys the engine from Chinese company and puts it in their bike. I think the bike's assembled in Germany, but I don't quote me on that. But yeah, it actually has been that way for a while. Now the big GS, the boxer motor bikes, they are 100% German, or well, the engine is German. Let's see. Okay, so let's talk about the 1300 GS. So I put a deposit on a 1300 GS with my dealer because I want to get one of the first ones that comes to California to start doing testing with it. The GS is such a important bike around the world, and it's good for the channel, right? And I love GSs. So here's what we know, okay? And all of this, this is not from BMW, this information. They haven't released the information yet. This is all just from what we've been able to gather from around the internet. So, you know, the price is going to be about the same as it's always been the past 10 years, about 25 grand, probably, excuse me, for a GS with all the stuff on it. And it should be in the States. My dealer told me the first quarter of 2024, but they're going to announce it September 28th of this month, which happened. I can remember that because that's actually my birthday. So on my birthday, they're going to announce the new 1300 GS. The specs and stuff we were able to gather from some regulatory documents that have been going around. So it should be about 145 horsepower, 109 foot-pounds. That's 10 more horsepower and about 5 more foot-pounds of torque. The exciting thing is, and we don't know for sure, but we're pretty sure that it's actually going to lose weight, which is hard to believe. But it should be about 25 pounds or 11 kilos lighter than the current GS, the 1250 GS. Now, if that's true, that's amazing because we're getting a significant weight reduction and a significant bump in power, right? Hopefully that's true. Water-cooled engine, yes. They have something called the SAF Next chassis. So dynamic ESA and all that stuff, that's going to be gone. They're going to introduce a whole new generation of chassis and electronic suspension, which is pretty cool. And just knowing BMW, like it's probably going to be good. Adaptive ride height, we're probably going to see that where it lowers when you come to a stop. Radar cruise control, blind spot monitoring, electric windshield. We should be seeing all these features, which is going to make it class leading, honestly, if they do all this. And that's what BMW wants to do. If you look at their track record, they want to be at the top. Now, a lot of you off-road guys are saying, yeah, it's too big and heavy and expensive. That's true, but people buy the heck out of these things. And, you know, it's a huge moneymaker for BMW. And people buy them and use them as touring bikes. Thank you, Byron, for your donation. I really appreciate that. Telelever, yes, still telelever. So a lot of questions coming in. So the 1400, there's some designation about 1400. I think BMW is playing games. It's going to be the same engine size. It's just going to be like an upgraded version or like an M version. Like they're going to have like the M 1400 GS, which could be like a sporty version of the GS, or we don't really know yet. But BMW does this. They'll say like 800 GS, like they have the new 800 GS now. They just announced, but it's not 800 cc. It's 900. Like it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, right to repair. Well, we could talk a long time about that. The GSAs, so the GSAs usually follow about a year after the GS. So like when I get my GS, I'm not going to have a choice. I'm just going to have to get the regular one. I'm going to be stuck with whatever comes in because I'm getting one of the first ones and I'm buying it. And then the GSA will probably come a year later. It's what they normally do. So. All right, let's see what else I've got here on the GS. Yeah, you don't want to drop you don't want to drop the boxer motor without protection. You will break a hole in this valve cover. Yeah, you need protection on the engine. So here's one of the spy photos we had of it. Here's another one. So you know, it's got some masking on it. It's hard to tell. GSs are never really that pretty or attractive, but they're very functional. All right. Overseas travel. Yeah, maybe in the future. You know, we have a 3-year-old kid, so we've been home a lot, and yeah, so. Yes, I live near Idlewild. Yeah, near Idlewild. We actually moved, but we're still pretty close to Idlewild. Oh, I did put the Transalp in. All right. So, any other questions on the 1300 GS before we move to the next? I'm gonna have some espresso beans here. Someone says the Transalp is way better than a T7 everywhere except off-road. Yeah, that's probably true. The Transalp is about the same weight as a T7, but it has a lot more power, should be more comfortable, slower to the ground. Yeah, it looks pretty good, except off-roading, I don't know. I don't know about the off-road part yet. Is there going to be a limit to how big the engine can get on a GS without adding more cylinders? Yeah, I mean, it took them. When did the 1250 come out? 2019. So in 4 years, in 5 years they've added 50 cc. So if they add 50 cc every 5 years, I don't know what's the math on that. Probably by the time I'm in my 50s, there'll be like a 1500 GS or something. But at some point, they're going to have to stop doing that because we don't need a bigger engine. Actually, what we need is less weight and a little bit light, you know, better off road, I would say. I mean, how much power do you really need? Why buy a Transalp for 11K when there's a 650 V-Strom for almost half the price? Well, V-Strom 650 is like 9,500, and the Transalp's probably going to be around 11. So I don't think it's half. But unless you're talking about a used one. Lower center of gravity. Yeah, I don't know the center of gravity of the Transalp. It's supposed to be lower than the T7. The T7 does struggle with that. Still a great bike, even though it is a little top heavy. How is BMW first gen reliability? Yeah, the first year is going to have bugs, I think. Probably some recalls, and I'm going to have to put up with that as an early adopter. The bad thing about being an early adopter, like what I do when I buy a new model, there's no aftermarket. The bike's going to have bugs and recalls and stuff, and you're going to have to deal with that. What adventure bike is the smoothest? That 1050 V-Strom engine is super smooth. The Ducati Desert X is really smooth. 1250 GS is pretty smooth. Yeah, they're all getting pretty good. All right, so let's talk about the Transalp. It's still not released in the USA. I don't know when it's coming. We don't even know for sure that it is coming to the US, I don't think, which would suck if it didn't. We think it'll be around 11.5 US, but we don't know. Just extrapolating the price from Europe. 91 horsepower, 460 pounds. So to keep in mind, a T7 is about 72 horsepower and 450 pounds. So power to weight ratio is really good on this thing. Should be fun to ride. Everybody says it's fun to ride. Somebody's watching from 3 a.m. from Montenegro. Thank you for tuning in. No cruise control, no tubeless wheels. People are complaining about that with the Transalp and the new V-Strom and what else? But they're complaining that, where's the cruise control? Where's the tubeless wheels? Well, my answer is that I agree with you, but remember, the manufacturers, they want to upsell you to the next model. So Honda wants you to buy an Africa Twin. KTM wants you to buy an 890 and not a 390. You know what I'm saying? Like, they want you to upsell to that bigger bike. That's why they don't put all the features on their smaller one. So it sucks, but it's just the way it is. Why is there no world? Yeah, we're going to talk about the world raid in a minute, the T7. Yeah, MC Cruise, if they make a cruise, aftermarket cruise, that'd be pretty cool. I would, because it's ride by wire, right? So it should be pretty easy to do cruise control. Yeah, that's a good point. The good point about the Touareg that someone just made is that they don't have to upsell. They don't have anything to upsell you to. So they made the Touareg their premium adventure bike. They put all the features on it because they don't have a bigger one to try to sell you. So that's why the Touareg is so cool, because you get all the premium features, but you get the smaller bike. Yeah. Is the Touareg the best balance for travel and fire roads? Yeah, I think it is. I think it probably is. I mean, the Touareg, the 890, the Desert X, the T7, those are all the sweet spot, you know. Are you going to EICMA? No, I don't think so. Do you think that KTM will make an enduro bike, but with the 390 engine? No, I don't. So back to the Transalp. Yeah, the suspension travel is kind of limiting. The ground clearance, we don't know. It's not great with that pipe running underneath here like that. The engine should be good. Okay, any other questions on the Transalp though? It's funny, yeah, somebody mentioned the pricing. So it's funny how in different countries, the different bikes have different price levels. Like here, a T7 is probably going to be the same price as a Transalp, but this guy's saying that in Australia, like the Transalp is way less than the Tenere. So that's just weird how that works. Yeah, we covered the Kove in the first part of and that was the first part of the video we did. Would you outfit a Transalp for long distance? Yeah, I mean, the Transalp's always been a good touring bike. We just didn't get the previous Transalps here in the US, but they've always been really good touring bikes. I would like to have cruise control though for touring. It's just because it's context, okay? I wanted to talk about this. Like context is everything. So right now in 2023, almost 2024, I mean, some guys will say, yeah, cruise control is so silly. Why do you need that on a motorcycle? Well, because once you start to ride bikes that have it and you get used to it, you don't want to not have it. Like, yeah, if nobody had cruise control, it wouldn't matter. But like a lot of bikes do, and you get used to it like me, and I don't want to be without it. So it's just the context. It's not universally good or bad. It's just you get used to it and you want to have it. It's like I just finished the RT. I had the RT for 3 weeks. The BMW. It has adaptive radar cruise control. I mean, it brakes for you. It accelerates for you. It keeps the distance from the traffic. It's incredible. Like now, I'm hooked on that. So context is everything. Okay, catching up with the comments. Yeah, different pricing in different countries. Thank you, Bravo, for the donation. I appreciate that very, very much. You guys can do that, and then I'll prioritize your question. I try to get to all the questions, but I can't get to, there's too many of them. All right, you guys want to move on to the next, what's the next? Yeah, so I'm going to have some more espresso beans for this one. BMW just announced this. Yep, we're going to talk about the 900GS right now. Throttle locks. Yeah, John says you can get a throttle lock instead of cruise control. I've tried that, but I don't ride on flat terrain. So the throttle lock, I set the throttle lock, even the Atlas one, that's really good. And then the speed just doesn't, because there's hills, and so it doesn't work. Like doesn't really hold your speed. So I've tried it, but would I buy a 900GS? I don't know what's going to be happening next year. It depends on how this channel goes financially, but I mean, my big commitment is to buy the 1300GS because globally, that's the biggest impact I can make as a reviewer to really review the 1300GS because it sells the most of any of these bikes. So I need to do that from a business point of view and from a content point of view. But the 900 does look pretty good. How does it feel getting invited to press releases? I have mixed feelings about it. It's really hard to kind of review the bikes at those press events because you don't have much time, and you know they're kind of giving you their spiel, and so it's hard to be critical of the bike as much. And I think that motorcycle reviews for a long time they're not very good. I mean, I hate to say that, but motorcycle reviews out there are not that good, and I think that's why I've kind of made this channel, is to try to do better reviews. You can only have one bike for the next 15 years. What do you pick? Well, I bought the 890R and I bought an extended warranty, which I never do. So I don't know. That or a GS. I mean, if I want to do more touring, I definitely want to have a GS. I don't like the 890 for touring, you know. Let's talk about the 900GS, and I'll try to keep up with the questions. So they just announced this yesterday, so it was good timing to do this live stream. Pictured here is the 900GS. So they announced they have a whole new bike, brand new bike, I think new everything, which is the 900GS. Then they updated the 850GS Adventure, but they're calling it a 900GS Adventure. They changed the fairing, but the bike underneath is the old GS Adventure. And then they have the 800GS, but that just looks like they took the 750GS and bumped up the power in the engine. It's super confusing, but the one I want to really talk about is the 900GS, this one here, because that's the one that's all new. Okay, does that make sense? It's a confusing thing that they're doing, because I think they're going to have the adventure version of this new chassis and platform next year. Although they did put the new engine in the 850GS Adventure, but they didn't update the rest of the bike. So I don't know. Is it tubeless? Yeah, I can see right in the picture here, they're tubeless rims. Yeah, tubeless spoke wheels. They fixed almost everything that I didn't like about the 850GS, except the fuel. So 30 pounds, that's a big weight reduction. That's a big deal. 14 kilogram. So it's now going to be about 475 pounds. That's competitive, but oh, and it has 10 more horsepower, which is a lot when you're only starting with 95. That's 10% more power, right? Fully adjustable. So they have two different suspension options you can get. You can get the Enduro Pro package, which gives you, I think, more travel and more adjustment. But even the base model 900 is going to have fully adjustable suspension, which they didn't have before. So that's good. The fuel rate, the fuel capacity is bad. Like, it was already the smallest. It was already 4.2 gallons on the 850, which was tied with the T7 for the lowest fuel range of any of these adventure bikes. Now they've made it even smaller. And I know they're trying to make it light. I get it. Like, okay, we want to be competitive with KTM and whatever. But my KTM 890 holds 20 liters of fuel, or 5.3 gallons. This bike only holds 3.9 or 14 liters of fuel. Like, that's a big difference. So yeah, I don't like that. But if you get 50 or 60 miles a gallon, you can stretch 4 gallons pretty far. And that's, now they're going to have competitive weight, competitive suspension, maybe, hopefully. And I think it looks good. But I'm happy that they're trying, that they did something right. Yeah. Same size tank as an MT-09. I mean, just about. Yeah, I think an adventure bike should be at least 5 gallons or about 19 liters. I think if it's less than that, I have a problem with it, because I didn't like that on a T7 either. I always had fuel anxiety on the T7 when I had one, because I get a fuel light at like 130, 140 miles on that bike. Someone's saying they didn't like the 21 front wheel. 17-19 combo is not good in deep sand. Yeah, you need that 21-inch front wheel. It just tracks better in the sand and it's better in the dirt. No, they're not going to do a 20-inch wheel. They're not going to invent, because there's no tires, and they're not going to do that. I would say 200 to 250 miles, or about 300 to 350 kilometer. I think if you can't do that on a tank, then it's kind of silly. So anyway, I do think the 900's cool. Here's some more photos of it. So they've got a couple different colors. This is like the blue. It comes with an Akrapovic pipe. Probably, I think that comes standard maybe on the 900, but it's BMW. They're going to have like option packages. Price, we don't know. They didn't announce pricing, so we don't know. But I mean, it looks pretty legit. I mean, with the Showa, it's Showa suspension. I don't know what the travel is, but it's probably at least 9 inches. I don't know. I think BMW can do a really good job. I mean, I bought an 800 GS when they came out back in 2009, and it was way ahead of its time. So they can do a good job. All right, let's keep going. Oh yeah, and then like I was talking about the Adventure, um, but it's not going to be lighter. So the new 850G or the new 900 GS Adventure is not going to have the weight reduction because they didn't actually update the bike. They just made the bigger engine, but they didn't change the rest of it. So it's not going to have the weight reduction. Yeah, there's going to be aftermarket solutions for the fuel capacity on the 900, but I mean, I don't want auxiliary tanks that add more weight and have to like have pumps and more fuel lines that can go wrong. I just want one fuel tank that has enough fuel. I don't have to worry about it. And I have the fuel bladder things, but I don't like to carry them. Um, thank you guys for watching all the way from South Africa. I appreciate that. Okay, so yeah, there's a picture of the 900 GS Adventure. It's my problem with that bike is that if you're at that point, why not just get a 1250 GS then? Like the weight is pretty much the same, and the 1250 is such a nicer bike than the 850 or the 900, and you get the shaft drive. I don't know. That's a tough one for me. Yes, the 900 GS has a different frame chassis than the 900 GS Adventure. That's the problem, is that they didn't update. All they did was change this little fairing panel right here, but the rest of it is mostly a carryover. So I don't know if they're going to update this next year. A T7 World Raid with cruise control and tubeless wheel. I mean, all of us here would buy one. I mean, I'd have one, everybody would have one, and it would put everybody else out of business. So I hope they do that. Because the T7 engine I love the T7 engine. Yeah, if you upgrade, Life Outdoors is saying upgrade a T7 with good suspension and wheels, amazing. And I'd love to build one up and kind of have one for riding around, especially if because the KTM, honestly, like I know my KTM is probably going to have drama, so I'd like to have a backup bike in case it breaks and I need to go on a trip. But the T7 is a lot of money to spend on a backup bike, Is anybody seeing the stream freeze? Hmm. Well, it's been good. Is it just freezing now, or was it freezing all the way from when we started? Yeah, I mean, I have fiber optic internet, so it should be okay. I mean, live streams occasionally they do have that. Okay. No, I paid the internet bill. It's fiber optic. It's, pretty fast, but okay, I guess we're good to go now. I don't know what happened. Sorry about that. Yeah, we have a local internet provider. It's not like one of the big companies. It's a local provider because I live in the mountains. But it is fiber. They put in fiber, so it's pretty fast. All right. Let's go. Oh, here's some more photos. Here's the 800 GS, which is so confusing because look at that. They're not fooling anybody. That's the 750 GS. That's the same. That's the same bike. That's the 750 GS. They increase the power a little bit, but otherwise it's the same. I guess it froze up when I was talking about the World Raid. So yeah, I was saying about the World Raid. If Yamaha did a World Raid Tenere with tubeless wheels and cruise control, we'd all be riding that. I mean, we wouldn't buy any other bike, you know. I'd buy one tomorrow if they could do that. Um, no, the 900GS engine is different. So BMW, like I tested the 900R, F900R. It's a bigger version. It's a lot punchier than 850GS. It's based on the same architecture, but it is a larger engine. They didn't just do software or anything. It's a bigger capacity. It's like 50 cc's bigger, actually. All right, let's talk about the Africa Twin. So, Africa Twin fans, raise your hand. I don't know a lot about what's going to happen here. So, here's what happened. For 2023, the USA did not get an Africa Twin, like at all. We didn't get it. So, and the reason that I've heard is that they had some parts issues or availability with parts or electronics, and they just couldn't produce the bikes for the US. So that was weird, which sucked because a lot of people put a deposit on Africa Twin and they didn't get it. Um, so yeah, so for 2024, we're hoping for maybe a new redesigned Africa Twin. Now, is it going to be just sort of a refresh of the current 1100 or an all new bike? We don't know. We just don't know. There's excuse me. There's rumors about like supercharging or something, but no, that they're not going to bring a supercharged Africa Twin. There's no reason for them to do that. Companies want to do the least they can do and make the marketing sound good and sell the bike. They don't want to do a bunch of extra work if they don't have to. So we could see more power. We could see more electronics. We're probably going to see stuff like front and rear radar. So you might have adaptive cruise, you might have blind spot monitor, which I personally think are amazing features, and I definitely want those features because I've tested them on now on other bikes. Adaptive ride height, they filed a patent for adaptive ride height. Showa, it's actually a Showa system. So like Harley started it with a Pan Am, but it's not Harley part. It's Harley buys that from Showa. So Showa has it. They can put it on the Africa Twin or the GS or whatever. Yeah, Joe, somebody said there's some quality control issues. Yeah, there have been quality control issues with the Africa Twin, which you wouldn't expect from Honda, but there was issues with the displays going out. There was the fork issues that they had for years. There was a gas tank recall. Paint was coming off. Like, yeah, I don't know, weird stuff, you know. That's the thing. I love the Africa Twin, but it doesn't feel very light and it doesn't have a lot of power. And you mix in some of the issues that they've been having, and I'm not really compelled to get another one. Although I do like the DCT a lot. I mean, that's the thing. There's problems with every bike. I'm doing a video soon talking about everything wrong with all the popular adventure bikes, just to sort of like say, like every bike has certain issues. Except maybe like a V-Strom, they don't seem to have any problems, I guess, or a T7. They don't, other than being top heavy. But like everything has something that's wrong with it. So there's no perfect bike. And this photo is just is someone's rendering. That's not a real photo. So does the Africa Twin feel larger than a Tiger 900? Not really. Uh, DCT and CarPlay, yeah, those are two great features. Phil says, if you had to go on a round the world expedition with no support, which bike would you feel? So if I was going around the world with not a lot of support, like the round the world travelers do, like that, I would choose probably like a V-Strom or a Tenere or Honda CB500X maybe, or Transalp. Yeah, I would not use any European bike at all. Trying to keep up with the questions. Yeah, I have tested the Super Tenere. Yeah, the Super Tenere is really good. It's kind of big and heavy, but it's an amazing touring bike. It's really good for long trips. Shaft drive, big engine, comfortable, adjustable windshield. Yamaha hasn't responded to my request for a press bike to test. So if you know anybody Yamaha, let them know. Why would I stay away from the Euro bikes? Dealer networks, parts availability, expected reliability. I would consider doing a BMW for like around the world trip because that's the only one I would maybe consider doing would be a BMW because there's BMW motorcycles all over the world and they're very reliable bikes in my experience. But I'd probably just stick to a Japanese bike just for the simplicity of it. Because I'd want less stuff that could break or have drama. All right, we're almost an hour in, so let's try to get through. So the Tiger 900 now, this is not a photo of the new Tiger. This is a photo of the Aragon edition of the current Tiger. But there's been some rumors. I couldn't find the article. I think it was ADV Rider that maybe did an article, but they had some spy shots of a new Tiger 900. Unless I just dreamed this and made it up, but we could see maybe some revisions to the Tiger, which would be kind of cool. My only complaints on the Tiger, I don't like the rake. The suspension rake is way too steep and it just knifes into sand. I don't like how it handles in the desert and the sand. And there's a lot of engine heat, but it's a pretty amazing bike though. 007 edition. Yeah, the Tigers are awesome. Yeah, if you guys follow Go Roughly, the folks who travel with the dogs and they have the dog carriers and stuff, they just got Tigers. So who's behind Honda or exceeding Honda in terms of reliability? I mean, there's really no study or data on motorcycle reliability, but if we had to guess, I mean, the four Japanese bikes and BMW would be, so I would say Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, Yamaha, BMW. Those would be my top 5 for reliability. But I can't prove that, and it's very unfair for me to even say that. But Triumph dirt bikes, yeah, they're just doing motocross bikes. I don't know if they're. I would make sense that they would do dual sports in the future. I think they will. Triumph is interested in really being a leader for this, but we'll see. I hope so. Let's see. Yeah, 26,000 valve service intervals of the Yamaha. I agree. Like, I would love to see more engines that either had hydraulic valves with no adjustment or had Yamaha where they have a 26,000 mile or 40,000 kilometer interval. That would be really good. Would you go shaft drive for a world tour? Probably not, because you can fix a chain. Anybody can fix the chain. And uh, the shaft drive is going to put you into a GS or a Super Tenere, and I don't want that heavy of a bike. Because if you're doing world travel, you're not going 100 miles an hour down the highway. You're probably going slower speeds. Yeah, we talked about the 900 GS about 20 minutes ago. So my Coke Zero is empty, so that's going to be a problem. Yeah, I think Triumph will do more than just a motocross bike. I sure hope so. This is a good question. What 2024 bike are you most looking forward to reviewing? For me, my most exciting bikes right now, the Kove 450 Rally and the 1300 GS. I actually am genuinely excited about the 1300 GS. All right, let's see. Let's talk about we already been talking about this, but I know it's not a new bike for some of you if you're like in Europe, but in the US, we don't have this. So the World Raid has larger fuel tank, lower center of gravity, better suspension, different dashboard, taller seat, has a steering damper, more wind protection. It fixes a lot of the complaints that we have. What they don't have tubeless wheels, they don't have cruise control. Well, those are two big things that people complain about. But I would probably still get one of these if they brought it here. It seems really promising. I don't know. I don't get Yamaha. Like they took them like 2 years to get the T7 here when other countries had it. What small displacement bike are you excited about? The new Triumph 400s are supposed to be really good, so I'm excited about those. They already have, oh yeah, they already have electric adventure bikes. So Zero has the DSRX. We could have a whole podcast, a whole stream just about that, because that's a lot to talk about. But yeah, the problem is, you know, have you seen charging stations in the middle of nowhere? You know, that's the problem. I think the Transalp, I would expect the Transalp within the next 6 to 12 months, but they just don't, they won't tell us anything. Here's another picture of the Yamaha. I would love to have one of these. Yeah, so the double fuel tank on that, I think because the fuel kind of goes down the sides, I think they probably had to do that. But I used to have a KTM 950 and it had the same thing. It had like two fuel, you had to fuel up on both sides. It is kind of annoying. All right. Let me turn on, I got to turn on the light here. Hold on. It's getting kind of dark. I have the light from the window. So actually, this is my window looking outside. So I have the light, but it's getting dark. So, all right. What bike would I recommend for riding from the East Coast to the Western BDR and then riding back? Whatever you're comfortable with. So if you're not going to be in agony, you know, the smallest bike, here's a good answer. The smallest bike that you're comfortable riding on the highway. So that might be for you like a Tenere 700 or a KTM 690, or you probably don't want to ride like a 500 EXC or a 450L across the freeway all the way here. So the smallest bike you can do on the highway, because on the BDR, you will want the smallest bike you can get. The BDRs are pretty serious. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Yeah, they went on the Yamaha, they went throttle by wire, but no cruise control. So that's weird. I don't get it. There's a question. Mr. Berger says, I'm already a Patreon supporter. Thank you for that. What else can I do to ensure you can keep doing this? Yeah, just use the affiliate links when you buy riding gear, parts, tires, accessories, whatever. And those links are everywhere in all my videos and all my stuff. That helps a lot. And continue being a Patreon supporter and give a thumbs up to the videos. That helps. So, but yeah, it's actually it's challenging to make this financially sustainable. But we're doing it so far, so hopefully we can keep going. Thank you for that. So, all right. The 890 Adventure R Rally, they just announced this this week. I think earlier this week they put this out. So I kind of figured they were going to do this because they did it with the previous 890. Now they're doing it with the redesigned. So, and I owned the 890 R Rally, the previous one to this, which is almost the same except for the fairing and the dash. So here's the deal with the Rally. So the Rally, they say they're only doing 700 production for the world. So if you want one of these bikes, here's what you need to do. They're going to release the pre-order. I think it's like September 24th or something, or go to KTM's website, but you're going to have to go to that pre-order website, you know, right when it opens and reserve one if you want one of these, because they're going to sell out like instantly. People love these things, and the hardcore KTM guys, they're gonna get them. So the way the Rally is that it's different suspension, different wheels, a different seat, and different exhaust, different foot pegs. Now you can do all these upgrades to an 890R. You could buy an 890R like the bike I have and do all these upgrades, but the problem is you would spend about $23,000 to do that versus buying this bike from KTM for $21,500. So it's actually a really good deal, because that WP Pro suspension is like $7,000 to upgrade to an R model bike. Crazy. Is it worth it? Yeah, it's that good. I've had one. But the problem is it's too tall. So if you're like, I'm 5'10" or 1.78 meter, and it's the seat height is just too tall for me, for an adventure bike. I'm on my tiptoes, and it gets old. Okay, I'm getting behind on the questions. It's really hard to keep up with all these. Yeah, this also comes with the tech pack included. So that's another $700 you don't have to spend. So if you want like the ultimate 90, pre-order one of these. It's worth the money. It totally is. If you're tall, if you're like 6 foot tall or over like 1.8, you'll love it. The suspension is unbelievable on it. Yeah, the Kove. So here's the thing with the height, though. So the Kove is really tall, but it's like, 100 pounds less than this bike. So the weight also has to do with it. So if you have a heavy bike that's super tall, you always feel like you're going to fall over. If you have like my 350 KTM is 37-inch seat height, but it's only weighs 250 pounds, so I don't care. Like, it doesn't feel like it's going to fall over. The Touareg, I only put a couple thousand miles on it because I'm always riding other bikes for review. But I don't have any concerns about the Touareg. They've been holding up for people. I'm still in the owners groups for those bikes. They're holding up pretty well. There's really not any major issues with them. The fuel sensors are going bad, so they have to fix those. A couple people had some minor issues, but nothing major. What's the most underappreciated and overlooked road-biased adventure bike? Probably a Super Tenere or a V-Strom 1050. The most fun street bike for the money. I did the Street Triple recently, the R version. It's 10 grand. It's pretty good for 10 grand. The MT09 that I bought is amazing for the money. Yeah. If you get used, you could do a lot of, you can get a lot. How did you get started doing reviews? Yeah, I did a cell phone video of an Africa Twin that I had like 4 or 5 years ago. Put it on YouTube, never looked at it. I didn't know what was happening. I came back like 6 months later to YouTube, and all these people were watching it and asking me questions and subscribing to the channel. And I didn't even have a channel. It was just a random video I put up, made it public. And then after that, I decided to try 2 or 3 more videos. Those did really well. And I got to 1,000 subscribers really fast. And, I think it's the time where adventure bike riding is becoming really popular. So I was able to really take advantage of that. But I didn't never intend to do this. I never had planned to do this or really thought that this would be a job. And it still feels weird to be doing it, because I worked a normal corporate office job for 15 years is what I did before this. So this is very strange to be able to do this. I liked the Trail Max Raid tires a lot. They felt really good. Well, all right. Any questions about the 890 Rally? Do you think any Japanese brands will make a single cylinder KTM 690 competitor? No, I really don't. I don't think so. It's such a small market segment that they're not interested in that. Honda's going to keep using that 500 engine and everything they can, All right. Royal Enfield. We don't know. None of this is confirmed by Royal Enfield, and they're not talking about it, but people have taken pictures of the bike already and posted them. So it looks like this. I think there's another photo here. It's supposed to be liquid cooled. It should have more power. I don't know how much power it's going to have, but the current bike struggles to do 70. So if this can cruise at 75 or 80, that'd already be a big improvement in miles per hour. So yeah, we don't know a whole lot, except if they do bring that out, I would consider buying it to have as a backup bike for myself and to do videos with. I think Royal Enfields are really cool, and it'll probably be a good price point. I think the challenge for the Himalayan here in the USA is the highway capability is pretty lacking, because the traffic where I live on the freeway, the traffic here is 80 to 90 miles an hour every day. And so if I'm on a bike that can only go 65, I'm just getting run over, you know? Okay, I'm behind on questions again. No, I don't have the Jeep Gladiator anymore. I bought a Ram Rebel, which I'm doing a review on really soon. I miss the Jeep though. Would you wait for the 450? I would probably wait for the 450. It's going to be such a big difference in the power, I think, between those two engines. Mr. Berger says, you know, why does BMW keep making the GS bigger if the interest is in the midsize segment? Well, actually, if you look globally at the sales figures, the big GS is by far the best seller. And it's the biggest money maker because it sells the most units, but it also has the highest margin for BMW. So it's like automakers make these big trucks, right? And you know, people spend $90,000 now on a pickup truck. You know, how much money is in that? It's the same thing with the big GS. People say they want the mid-sized bikes, but what people actually buy worldwide, if you look, is the big bikes. And they buy them for luxury touring and sport touring, and they buy the hell out of 1250 GSs. It's one of the most popular bikes in the world. So it's money. It comes down to money, you know. And they're in a race with KTM and Ducati. See, Ducati, KTM, and BMW, if you look, like, it's like, okay, who has adaptive cruise first? Who has blind spot first? Who has more power next year? Who has, they're competing with each other. And I don't think anybody's ever going to get the GS off the top. They're just not going to do it. The GS has too good of a formula, and BMW is too smart with their marketing. They're just too clever and very forward thinking. Like, they figured out this adventure thing 30 years ago. They knew it was going to be big, and they had it figured out way before it happened. Nobody else did. So BMW is actually really smart. Does Maggie ever get tired of all the motorcycle stuff? Not really. I mean, she's been super supportive. When we met in like 2012, and I told her, I'm like, this is what I do, this is what I love, like, it's not ever going to change. And I said, this, it's just, so it is. And she was fine. She was never against it or anything. It's important, I think, to have a spouse that, you know, is okay with what you do. I think that's really important. Okay, Kove 800X. Now, I was able to find some information on this thing, and it's pretty interesting. I don't know if it's going to be imported here to the US or where it's going to be sold, but they found, this was at EICMA, I think, this photo, maybe last year. But it looks to me like, so there's these companies that are getting like the 790 KTM engines and putting them in, like the CF Moto Ibex that I tested. Like, it looks kind of like that. But this, if they brought this here, this could be really cool. They say it's lightweight and everything, but we don't know. I'm not sure, but it could be. Now it's Chinese, so a lot of people are going to have a problem with that. I think the whole Chinese thing is interesting, and I think people's perception of or perspective on that's going to change a lot over the next 10 years, like a lot, for various reasons. But yeah, it's a cool design. I don't, that's the only photo I had, but yeah, I don't know if it's, I don't really like the 790 motor. If it's another 790 engine, I just don't really like that engine. But I mean, it's okay. The camshafts are still an issue on all the KT. All this, the 890s are having, a lot of the 890s are having failed camshafts too. The metal, there's a metallurgy problem. They're just delaminating. The metal's just coming off the cams and ruining the engine. So it's happening quite a bit on the 890s too, sadly. All right. Oh, Moto Guzzi. So we can't leave out Moto Guzzi. You got to throw them in. They make really cool motorcycles. They're kind of overlooked. The V85 TT is a really cool bike that you should check out. Shaft drive. So they're going to do a Stelvio V100. So they have the new V100. What do they call it? Mandello. So they're going to do a Stelvio, which the Stelvio, they used to have the Stelvio, which was the big adventure tour to compete with the GS. So it's going to be shaft drive. It's going to be the new engine. They're going to have high-tech electronics. If you look at what they're doing now with the V100, it's going to be an adventure version of that. And they've already teased it, so I think they're doing it. And that could be pretty cool. That could kind of be an underrated bike. So Adventure Glide says, did you say the KTMs are delaminating? Yes, they are. I don't know the percentages, if it's like 1% or 5%, but there's people on Facebook every day talking about them. So it seems to be quite a bit. It's the camshafts. They're just falling apart, and then you have to get a new engine. Yeah, I know it's weird how they did that. There's a spy photo of it though. So it's got, you can see the Moto Guzzi engine, and then it's a Stelvio with the big windshield and the bodywork, and pretty cool. Like if you want a big adventure tour, shaft drive, 2-up riding, long rides, and you don't want a GS, then this is a good choice. I think that's let's see. I think that's the end of this if you want. So now I just want to do Q&A. So yeah, it's getting later here. My brain's starting to get a little bit tired, but what do you guys what kind of questions do you guys have while we're here? So no, I haven't reviewed a T120 yet. 390 Adventure or Himalayan 450. Well, the KTM is going to be lighter weight and faster. Do the 390 engines have less or more problems than the 890 LT8? I think they seem to have less issues than 890s, but I can't confirm that. But I don't hear of as many issues on the 390 engines. So Moto Guzzi is a part of Piaggio. They've gotten a lot of complaints sort of about their customer service, but my experience with the Aprilia, which is also Piaggio, was perfectly good. So I think it depends on your dealer. Luggage, for if I'm going to ride off road, I want soft bags only. But for road touring, hard bags for sure. Like a middleweight bike for 98% highway, 2% off road. The KTM 890, the base model KTM 890, the one that I bought, not the Norden is a little too off-roady for what you're saying. I would just get the 890 KTM base model if you want a midsize. Is an amazing street bike. The most underrated adventure bike, probably like a clapped out DRZ or a clapped out KLR. I mean, that's what you always see out on the trail. They go everywhere and they don't cost anything, and you don't care if you crash it. Really, or a clapped out V-Strom. They just run forever, and you just don't have to worry about it. Have you ever crashed? In fact, yeah, I did have an accident when I was about 19 and broke my leg, broke my ankle, got pretty messed up. And I thought about quitting riding, but it's too addictive. I think once you get it in your system, and you've been riding since you were a kid like me, you can't stop. It's part of who you are at that point. Like I've tried sports cars, I've tried Jeeps, I've tried these other hobbies that are safer. Well, actually, they're more expensive, surprisingly, but they're safer, but they just don't give you the thrill, you know? The Norden Expedition, KTM and Husky, they just don't respond to my requests for test bikes, so that's the problem. Um, KLR or BV, I don't know what a BV 400 is. For city commuting, if the BV 400 is a scooter, then get that. For city commuting, that's going to be better than a KLR. KLR is kind of big and heavy, kind of clunky. A newer beta, yeah, I'd love to review one of the newer beta models, a redesigned dual sport. I don't get a lot of views on the dual sport videos with the high-end bikes, but it's a small amount of people who are spending $12,000 on a dual sport, so the videos don't do that well. But yeah, I'd love to review one of those. I had the previous generation beta. It was a great bike. Uh, CRF 450L for longer rides. Yeah, I would. I've thought about getting a CRF 450L and doing like a lightweight adventure build, but I don't know how the videos will go or if it'd be worth it. 1050 Suzuki V-Strom. Yes, it's worth it. It's a good bike. The 800DE V-Strom. Yes, amazing. I love the 800V V-Strom. Great bike. I don't know what an Arch is. The 890R versus the Norden 901. Okay, yeah, good question. The 890R is what you get if you want to off-road a lot. The standard Norden is more of that street bike. It has a whole different suspension setup. It has the Apex, shorter travel. It bottoms out a lot off-road. Now, if you get the Norden Expedition, that's the same setup as the 890R with the suspension. So there's a difference there. The Norden for me, the way the design of the fairing, I didn't really like the round headlight thing, and it had really bad wind buffeting, but the KTM has buffeting too. Just it depends on what style you prefer, I guess. They're so similar. The Goldilocks middleweight bike, I think it's the Touareg 660. Oh, I know what Arch is now. Yeah, my friend was going to get one of those. Yeah, I don't know much about it though. I'm going to just go for a couple more minutes because we're starting to dwindle on the viewers here. So, motorcycle school, there's Moto Ventures and Anza really close to where I live. They're really good. That's for off-road. I don't know if you're looking for street or off-road. If you're looking for street, you know, I mean, just go to Champ School. Yamaha Champ School is amazing, amazing. What could Honda do the Africa Twin to make you choose one over a BMW? I mean, shaft drive, more power. I guess that would be it, you know, because the Africa Twin to me feels even heavier than a 1250 GS. Heavier feeling. It's not heavier on spec sheet, but then you don't get the shaft drive, you don't get the premium features, stuff like that. You don't have power. Thank you guys for the nice comments. I appreciate it. I really do. The next video is coming out. So I've got the BMW RT stuff. I've got more stuff on the Moto Morini, the KTM. I've got the XR150, the Honda XR150. I've got some Ducati stuff that I can't talk about. It's under embargo. That's coming. They have a new bike. What else? Some comparison videos. We did a comparison between the 890R and the Moto Morini Xscape, which is really interesting because it's twice the price. So that's a cool video. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you're watching the recording too, thank you for watching this. And you can listen to this in like a podcast form. You know, that's a good tip for these longer videos when you're driving or something. Thank you guys. I really appreciate your donations. I appreciate you watching, your commenting. I appreciate the Patreons. This is a community and it happens because of all of you out there. So huge thanks. And I'm grateful to be doing this. And shoot me a message anytime and let me know how we can improve and make this better. So Do you get your money back on the bikes you buy? No, it's a big financial loss to do that. I mean, I get some of it back, but like maybe 75% if I'm lucky. So that's a huge expense that I have. I know I sold, yeah, well, I don't want to get into specifics, but yeah, the depreciation on the bikes that I buy for review and then I sell them, that's a huge expense. So yeah, what we tell our wives is another story. So okay. All right. Well, it seems like there's not many more questions coming in. So the next live stream, I might try the software so I could put instead of having this here, I could put this like on the screen and I'd be in a little square, but I don't know. The software didn't seem to work very well. So I wasn't sure. But anyway, 390 KTM or Himalayan 450. Well, I've ridden the 390 Adventure and I think it's great. The 450 Himalayan is, we don't know, no one's ridden it yet. So the Himalayan's going to be heavier and slower and probably won't have the performance of the KTM. So I don't know. The KTM's pretty hard to beat for that 390. Adventure Glide says he prefers the setup over the tiny head. Yeah, I thought this was good because I can move these things around and I can move the camera. I don't know, but all right. Well, thank you all. I appreciate it so much. Please ride safe. And yeah, until next time, I'll see you on Patreon. I'll see you in the comments. I'll see you on Discord. If you're Patreon, you can go into Discord and we have this kind of chat room in Discord. So only one bike and one bike only, either an 890R or a Touareg 660. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'm gonna cut it off now. Really appreciate everything. You guys are awesome, and it wouldn't be Big Rock Moto without all of you here. So thank you so much. And if you have any questions you really want to ask me, send me an email, info@bigrockmedia.net. Hit me up on Instagram or go on Patreon. You can go in the Discord chat room. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.